Now is former FBI special agent and former House Intelligence Chairman Mike Rogers. He is a CNN national security commentator. Mike, great to see you. Before we get to the larger issue, what a remarkable moment in history this is, watching this battle between the former FBI head and the president. About that, should he have told President-elect Trump the origin of that Steele dossier and who paid for it?
I don't know. It depends on where the investigation was. I don't know if that was necessarily relevant to the time and the conversation. At some point, he probably should have been briefed that. But again, this was still an ongoing investigation at that point. That's why I'll tell you what, Alice, when this is over, I think America is going to need a healthy dose of therapy. I really do.
What do you mean when this is over? How about right now?
Oh, my God. There's still too much more to come, I think.
Well, OK, so let's talk about the larger issue. How remarkable is it for you, as someone who worked with James Comey, as a former FBI agent, to watch this play out and to have our former chief law enforcement officer talk about the president in these terms?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I was really disappointed. I know Jim Comey to be a decent and honorable man. I worked with him as chairman, never had any issue, would never question his veracity. But to have the FBI director in the middle of an investigation even speculate that the president may have committed a crime he wasn't quite sure, I just thought really damages both his brand and the FBI brand.
So why is he doing
You don't want police officers going out and saying, well, I don't think that person's morally fit, so I'm going to put handcuffs on you. That's not what the law enforcement is supposed to do. And so him as director making those kinds of allegations and comparisons. I mean, listen, Trump laid the bait out there. He attacked him personally. It was certainly, I thought, actions and activities unbecoming of the office of the president, no doubt. But Jim Comey last night, I thought, took the bait, and that's what disappointed me.
So, and why do you think he did that?
Clearly, the guy was fired in I can't think of a more horrific way to fire somebody who had given honorable service to his country. So I think he took that personal. I think he still is trying to shake off this notion that here I'm a guy that, believes I was doing everything right. And to get treated this way, I think was unconscionable. And I think you saw that come out on TV. Here's the thing, Allison, and this is why I was disappointed that the former director decided to come out the way he did, is it gives legs to everybody who now wants to condemn the FBI as a political organization or an organization that decided they were going to investigate the president because they didn't like him or they didn't like his morals. None of that is where the FBI is or should be. And I think it highlighted the mistakes that Director Comey made early on in this, where he tiptoed into politics and tiptoed out, and I'm sure he thought he was doing the right thing, but I think it just highlighted the mistakes that he made. And the fact that we now have two boys in the schoolyard calling each other names, I think is horrifically unproductive.
And so as a former investigator, what do you think Comey's biggest mistakes were?
Well, I think in the very beginning, I disagreed when he came out and said there's nothing to see here in the Clinton investigation. I didn't think that was his place. I disagreed when he came back out and said, oops, so we think we found something, we have to investigate it again. And then I disagreed with him the third time when he came out and said, no, we didn't find anything here. I thought all of that. And last night in his interview, he said he was doing this from some notion he had politics on his mind. The FBI needs to stay out of all of that. And again, he also, this notion that he believes the president is morally unfit. We're all going to come to that conclusion in the voting booth. I don't want the FBI deciding on an investigation because I think somebody is morally unfit. I just think that's a dangerous precedent. And so those are the big mistakes. And then having the director who was actively engaged in the investigation speculate last night on live TV, well, the president may have committed a crime here. I just thought that was awful and very unbecoming of an FBI director. And candidly, as I said, I know Jim Comey. He is a decent and honorable man. I think his emotions got the better of him in this.
And then, I mean, speaking of unbecoming, of course, there's the response from the White House and the president saying slippery James Comey, a man who always ends up badly and out of whack. He is not smart. He will go down as the worst FBI director in history by far. By the way, that's not even the most insulting tweet that I could have read. And what do you think of the president of the United States going after James Comey? Is there a trickle-down kind of ripple effect across all of the FBI?
Listen, I think this pejorative nature of the president's tweets has got to end. And again, that's what I meant by the president laid it out there. He was very pejorative. He was very mean. There was animus in his texts and tweets about James Comey, and all of it was awful. And I still believe to this day that is actions and activities unbecoming of the office of the President of the United States. Don't go after an individual. The president's you don't even get me started. My blood pressure is going up already. But for the FBI director to react, I think James Comey took that bait. He shouldn't do it. We know what we're going to get with the president and his tweets. The director needed to be bigger than that. Unfortunately, last night he was not. And so again, it looks like two kids in the schoolyard hurling insults at each other. And that is not helpful to what is really important here, Allison. We know the Russians are trying to influence the 2018 elections. We know that. The FBI director, all of the intelligence community has agreed that, said on public record it's happening. Now that's all going to get lost one more time, and it gives the Russians a seam of which they are very good at finding.
Mike Rogers, you say that everybody might need therapy, and I suggest a long vacation for you as well. Thank you very much for coming.